Hey, good morning to everyone, and thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here this morning with us as we launch the project Strengthening Civil Society Capacity to Alleviate the Impact of COVID-19 on Vulnerable Communities in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. At this time, I'm going to invite CPDC Chairperson Kozal Fraser to bring us a few welcoming remarks.
Representative of the EU, Mr. Luke Patsell, CPDC's project manager, Mr. Richard Jones, NGO representatives, members of the media, invited guests. Good morning, everyone. It is really a pleasure to be able to launch with you this project, Strengthening Civil Society to Alleviate the Impacts of COVID-19 on Vulnerable Communities in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean. This project is made possible by funding of the European Union and has been developed as a result of the challenges that vulnerable groups are facing in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're all very much aware in the region of the impacts of the pandemic. COVID-19 has really ruffled the fabric of Caribbean society. It has been devastating on our lives and livelihood and has laid bare a set of vulnerabilities and challenges to our food systems, democracy, health, and social stability. It is evident that as a Caribbean society, we cannot move forward without providing people-centered solutions to these issues that have been brought to the forefront if we are to get back on a path to sustainable development. This is the first time in a long while that we have seen such a consensus in the region on issues and commonalities that just cross borders. It means that we have an opportunity to realize a project whose impact, to the extent that it is replicable in other countries and scalable, can really affect a large cross-sections of citizens across the broader Caribbean. I want to thank the EU delegation and representatives for their support in ensuring the delivery of this project. We owe a great deal of gratitude to the diligence and hard work of the team in Barbados, including the project team at the CPDC as well. This project has various components, and Richard will speak on the intricate details of that. But in terms of the outcomes of the project, what we'd like to see is a region that is, as a consequence of this initiative, significantly improved well-being and livelihoods of vulnerable groups, systems of governance, inclusive development, accountability, as well as strengthening the NGO sector to respond to the increased needs of marginalized social sectors in a sustained way. So welcome again, everyone, to the launch, and we do look forward to your support for the duration of this project lifecycle. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much for those words, Ms. Kozal. And at this time, I'm going to hand over to Richard Jones, our officer in charge. Richard, you're on mute.
Good morning, everyone. And I too would like to extend my thanks for you attending the session this morning and learning more about what we deem to be a very important project over the next few years. I'd like to recognize our chair, Kozal Peters, EU representative Luke Patsell, NGO representatives, media personnel, and especially invited guests as well. Thank you all. Today we are here to launch the Strengthening Civil Society to Alleviate the Impact of COVID-19 on Vulnerable Groups in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean project. And we refer to this project as the Strengthening Civil Society Capacity Project, or SCSC, as the acronym. I'm pleased to be sharing about this new initiative with you and take this opportunity to thank the European Union for its generous two-year funding allocation of 850,000 euros to the 983,000, roughly 83,000 total project costs. The project comes at a crucial time for non-governmental organizations in the Caribbean. We face multiple and exacerbated challenges as a result of the COVID pandemic. And as such, the SCSC project is rooted in the realities of our NGO constituents and their emerging needs in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Guided by our vision to put people at the center of Caribbean sustainable development. We designed and undertook the COVID-19 impact research in June 2020 and again in October 2020. Over 80 non-state entities from more than 12 CARICOM countries participated. These organizations represent a range of interests, which was very diverse. So those organizations work on capacity building, they work on skills development, they work on education, community development, mental health, gender and women's rights, umbrella organizations, among others. What they did have in common is they all work with vulnerable groups. The NGOs shared their concerns about the socioeconomic challenges arising from COVID-19, the virus's impact on their beneficiaries, as well as the obstacles they envisage in the post-pandemic Caribbean landscape. Financial assistance, healthcare, inclusion of mental health care, and food security were the top 3 priority areas that NGOs found themselves responding to. Just over half, or 58%, reported that they had the capacity to adequately respond, albeit in a constrained manner. Other beneficiary needs highlighted by NGOs encompass uncertainty about the future, increased physical health concerns, increased abusive behaviors, limited or lack of access to online education, limited access to government support, limited ownership of required ICTs, and inadequate internet service to do their work. As the third sector transitioned to remote work, we found that NGOs received reduced funds to support vulnerable beneficiaries. And in this situation, it was compounded by the loss of income and funding opportunities in the months to follow. These financial woes translated into uncertainty around planning events, the inability to provide services, and a general unease about the future. In fact, 90% of NGOs expressed concern about whether the entity could survive the pandemic. Quite a dire situation indeed. Equally as concerning was that our research found that civil society was largely left out of local and regional responses to COVID-19, which hampered the ability to provide much needed services for our marginalized populations, such as people living in poverty, children, and people living with disabilities. In fact, 97% of the NGOs surveyed were worried about the impact of COVID-19 lockdowns on the beneficiaries. NGOs lamented the erosion of an already shaky enabling environment to do their work, and many indicated that they were unable to access emergency passes from governments to provide services to vulnerable beneficiaries during the restrictive curfews and lockdown measures. And in a time of widening social inequalities, the incorporation of NGOs in the emergency and redevelopment responses to the pandemic is paramount for inclusive and sustainable social and economic development. We all know that our region faces significant social and economic fallout from the pandemic, which can only be sustainably addressed with the inclusion of NGOs and civil society actors. Governments cannot adequately tackle this heavy load on its own. The SCSC project at its core is geared towards building the capacity of the sector through improving NGOs' ability to access funding information, provide small grants for delivering services to beneficiaries, strengthen NGO operations, and build a collective platform to advocate for greater attention to vulnerable groups' needs. So what are the key components? The first one, the key component, is sub-regional assessments. The research will provide a comprehensive analysis of the key COVID-19 related issues and impacts within vulnerable groups, accompanied by a primary institutional assessment of the NGOs that serve vulnerable sectors in our communities. This component aims to strengthen the strategic planning of service delivery and policy responses by NGOs. And as a result, NGOs will be in a position to respond to the needs of vulnerable beneficiaries in a targeted manner to improve quality of life and livelihoods. The second initiative focused around sub-grants and training initiatives. And in this initiative, CPDC will provide sub-grants to NGOs to enhance their capacity to deliver development services or represent vulnerable groups. Additionally, skills and employment training program will be undertaken to assist vulnerable groups for economic empowerment. In terms of institutional building, and the third activity will be focused around the technical capacity building of NGOs, and we will offer training in various technical skills via workshops, and online course to improve service delivery to vulnerable groups. Training will include online methodologies for remote working, project management, and resource mobilization, among other areas. A regional policy advocacy network is the final initiative we will endeavor to implement. This advocacy network will represent vulnerable groups' views in policy decision-making spaces at the national and regional level. But we realize as a sector that we cannot do it alone. Therefore, we are renewing our call for regional governments to give more than lip service to civil society organizations. We are asking policymakers to harness their power for social transformation in our region. Civil society keeps the pulse of our people. They know their needs and are working through their own difficulties to provide support to people who need it the most. Our sector needs to be given all access to opportunities to voice these needs and solutions from those who suffer most from this pandemic and social economic fallout. We look forward to rolling out this project and are excited to see it through its full potential. And thank you very much. I'll hand over to you, Karen.
Thank you so much for those words. At this time, we're going to have brief remarks from Luke Patzell, the Program Manager of Security, Human Rights, and Civil Society at the Delegation of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, the OESC, and the CARICOM CARIFORUM. Luke?
Thank you, Karen. They won't be that brief. You asked for 12 minutes, so the remarks will be 12 minutes around. Good morning, everyone. It's a great honor to meet you all today. This project may be commonly referred to as the Strengthening Civil Society Capacity Project, SCSC, but it is important to remember that the strengthening of the capacity of the NGO sector has a more specific goal: to adequately respond to the increased needs of marginalized and vulnerable groups in the Caribbean adversely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is because of this background that the initiative we are launching today is so important. This pandemic has magnified every existing inequality in our societies, like systemic racism, gender inequality, and poverty, said Melinda Gates in an interview last September. Indeed, the pandemic has taken a disproportionate toll on the underprivileged. Not only are they highly exposed to the virus, many are essential workers, do not have sick leave and/or cannot telework like I can, but they are also more likely to get severely sick. Many do not have access to quality health care and have a higher rates of chronic diseases that increase the risk of severe disease. In addition, they have suffered the most from the economic and social consequences of the lockdowns. Children who cannot follow online schooling and a dramatic rise in domestic violence, among others. And marginalized groups are also more vulnerable to the ramifications of fiscal shortfalls as well as stabilization efforts. In fact, every type of inequality has been exposed and amplified during this pandemic. It has been particularly hard for those with fragile mental or physical health and those whose life circumstances create barriers to accessible health care. To cite some examples, in the US and the UK, Black, Asian, Latino, and other minority ethnic groups were 2 to 4 times more likely to die from COVID-19. People who live in deprived areas had higher diagnosis rates and death rates than those living in less deprived areas. In Spain, recent prevalence results show that women who work as cleaners or carers, as well as migrants, were more exposed to the virus than the general population. Drawing a line by British writer Damien Barr, we may be in the same storm, but we are in different boats. Nobody on this planet is going to be untouched by the impacts of this all-encompassing threat that has weakened the fabric of our societies, and we will need the leadership, resources, expertise, and solidarity of every organization and individual if we are to find solutions to this common global challenge. Governments, international organizations, private sector representatives, research organizations, NGOs, they all have a part to play. We cannot work in isolation. We rather have to join forces and make sure that we do our job at the best of our capacities. working together for collective global good and recognizing that no one sector can solve the world's major societal challenges alone. These roles are increasingly carried out through engagement in partnerships and collaborative frameworks across civil society and with stakeholders from business, government, and international organizations. The unique concept of civil society as the space where we act for the common good is expanding, as civil society actors frequently play the role of an enabler in driving change. Partnership, this is also what the EU is all about. Europe was built on cooperation, and it is in our DNA to build partnerships on a global level. We believe in the value of contributing our best resources and capabilities to partnerships and to enable others with fewer resources to make their contributions as partners and assume responsibility in their own regions. Yet in a region where civil society actors continue to be particularly affected by capacity constraints, including inadequate human and financial resources, they need to be empowered to adequately perform their roles. This is where the EU comes into play. We value CSOs as a crucial component of any democratic society. We would like to empower them with the capacities needed to put ideas into action. This is why the EU partners with civil society, because we believe that our relationship should not only be with governments, but also with the people that they represent. We are ready to partner with you. An empowered civil society represents and fosters pluralism, promotes transparency, holds institutions to account and lobbies for change, provides services where others do not, builds the foundation for broad-based democratic ownership of policies and processes, and contributes to more effective, equitable, sustainable, and inclusive growth. This is what we believe in, and this is what we invest in. Some of you may already know me as the EU's civil society guy. Since my arrival in 2015, 5 calls for proposals were run in the sub-region, and 2 additional direct grants awarded under both the EIDHR and the CSO programs, and CPDC benefited from it significantly, resulting in a total of 15 grants to civil society actors worth between 300,000 and around 800,000 each, amounting to more than 6 million euros. In addition, 4 major contracts have been awarded under the wider regional envelope with CARIFORM, representing an additional approximately 5 million euros. Over the years, we have invested more than 11 million in contracts, specifically benefiting CSOs across a wide range of topics, but all with one common denominator: a strong focus on human rights and marginalized groups. And we will carry on with empowering civil society. We believe civil society is an indispensable partner for our foreign and cooperation policy, and the EU is determined to continue to be an indispensable partner for strong, resilient, and free societies all around the world. Genuine democracy is like a 3-legged stool. One leg is responsive, accountable government. The second leg, a dynamic job-creating private sector. And the third leg is a robust and vibrant civil society. In that role, civil society is not working against or in competition to the state, but supporting and ensuring connectivity both bottom-up and top-down between the state and the society it represents. Therefore, governments should view civil society not as a threat, but as an asset. CSO stands out thanks to their capacity to reach out, to empower, represent, and defend vulnerable and socially excluded groups, and trigger social innovation. Civil society is the place where policies are debated and ideas tested. Civil society projects are incubators of new ideas. They have the ability to experiment, move faster than government, and act as an agent of change. There are multiple roles for civil society in that respect. Firstly, to act as a sounding board that helps decision makers feel the pulse of society, as Richard has already pointed out. Secondly, to ensure representativeness, that is to make sure that policies genuinely represent the interests of the populations, of the region, of the EU, and of the world. We aim for a coalition of partners which is greater than the sum of its parts, where civil society utilizes its convening power to bring diverse players on board and creates the context within which good decisions can be made based on mutual trust. As civil society is consistently trusted far more than government, business, and the media, at a time when trust is by far the most valuable currency. Thirdly, civil society can contribute valuable technical expertise and input, for example, in the form of relevant research. The latter is particularly useful because this has proven to be very effective in influencing decisions. Understanding how COVID-19 impacts marginalized groups is very important, and I'm glad that the project does not only have a strong focus on mitigation and service delivery, but also on analysis, research, and advocacy. This triad is crucial for improved preparedness planning and the development of indigenous socio-economic policy responses, as there will be a time after the pandemic. And the pandemic must be an occasion to build back better for everyone. Looking ahead, we need to reflect on the lessons learned and ensure nobody is left outside. It is our normal that has led to this, wrote Ed Young, a science journalist for The Atlantic, last August. Our current model of economic growth has led to increasing deforestation and loss of biodiversity, accelerated urbanization, intensive animal farming, and global travel, all factors known to increase the risk of zoonotic viruses jumping to human hosts and spreading with alarming ease. Scientists and public health experts around the world have been warning us for many years that a pandemic caused by an unknown virus was not a matter of if, but of when, and that we needed to prepare. But as German virologist Christian Drosten pointed out, there's no glory in prevention, and pandemic preparedness has not received the necessary resources or attention. Hopefully, this will change. Ultimately, the best way to reduce the risk of future pandemics is by avoiding a return to business as usual. Without equity, we cannot end COVID-19, HIV, or any other pandemic, wrote Peter Sands from the Global Fund. Put simply, none of us are safe until everyone is safe. That applies especially to those who are often out of the public eye. Not everyone can practice social distancing, has the means to protect themselves with basic hygiene measures, and not everyone may be so lucky to retreat into a safe space at home, away from community transmission of the virus, as we can all do. These are the people for whom policies need to work the hardest. Inequity per se is a pandemic, and tackling it should become a priority at the national and global level. The question is whether we are ready to take the measures that are required. Inclusion of marginalized groups is not only a matter of social justice and the realization of human rights. It is an essential investment in the future of society and critical to sustainable development. This is even truer at this critical juncture when both economic recovery from the damage caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as prevention of a future one, is dependent on the contribution of all citizens. What is needed is a holistic approach where no one is left behind and all stakeholders can contribute with their expertise to direct the region and the world on a path of sustainable development. This includes the marginalized, who are not heroes or victims, but agents of their own destiny, seeking to participate in society on equal terms. As someone who has lost loved ones without being able to say goodbye to them due to the pandemic, my wish for us all is that the future may soon bring an end to this scourge and the beginning of a not so normal lifestyle in which we finally decide it is time to build a fairer, more inclusive and sustainable society. We don't have to engage in grand heroic actions to participate in the process of change. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. I wish you best of luck for your exciting project, and I would like to thank you for your attention. And I apologize that I have to leave after this intervention because we are unfortunately bombarded by requests from headquarters on other major interventions. Thanks, and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for carving out this space to be with us. And you definitely highlighted why this is such an important partnership between the EU and the Caribbean Development Center. We definitely have the same goals and values alignment. Thank you so much, Luke, for your words. At this time, we're going to show a brief video to highlight the project activities. you. And now at this time, we're going to hand back over to Richard Jones.
Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you the team that will be working on this project. I know this would be of interest to many of you who would be seeking to partner with us in the near future as we roll out the activities. First of all, I would introduce Ms. Karen Phillip, who is the lead on the project within CPDC. Secondly, I would like to also introduce Denise Tannis. Denise will be supporting the governance aspects of the project as it unfolds. In particular, she would be leading on the policy elements and the civil society working group that would bring voice to some of the issues and many of the issues that vulnerable groups would have in the region, and taking those voices to governments at the national and regional level as needed, and sub-regional level, I should say, as needed. Kathy Ann Hepburn is our administrator. She's the core of everything. And if you are interacting with us, whether that is training, whether that's through a grant, you would be interacting quite a bit with Kathy, keeping all of the logistics and coordination of the administration in place. Mr. Christian Herbert is a project assistant on the project. He supports Karen in many ways in the capacity building element of our work. And you would also be in regular contact with Christian as well. Jaleesa Augustine Critchlow. Jaleesa is our point person for governance and support. And Jaleesa, forgive me, Critchlow Augustine. She's our point person for governance in support of Denise. She's also our key person for our online messaging and communications. And certainly you would see a lot of her work in the invitations and the outreach and the campaigns that will be happening through this project as well online. That is, I think I will hand over to you now, Karen, with those key persons in the project team. And as we interact, I'm sure you would also be introduced to other members of our team. We have various support volunteers who are also playing a key role, interns who are playing a key role as well, and you would be interacting with them in the near future.
Thank you so much, Richard. Point, we want to take questions that we have from attendees. You can either put it in the chat or raise your hand or unmute about the project and where at the All right, so it seems that we have no questions. We understand that it's a 2-year project that's going to be executed in Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, looking at how we can strengthen civil society capacity to alleviate the impact of COVID-19. So it will also have capacity building activities such as training, toolkits, videos, and sub-grants and skill grants. And then also we will have a governance aspect looking at the CCWG and strengthening our response to the virus and the policymakers to ensure that our voices are placed in these decision-making periods. When does the project start? So the project has started. This is the official launch. You would have seen that the project first activity was in June. That was the beneficiary assessment, and the institutional assessment has started. And then also we put out the skills grant call. So the project started, activity started in June.
Karen, if I can say, I just want to let everyone know, please stay tuned to our social media, our website. We post all the opportunities in that format. It's quite open for anyone who can apply. It's a competitive basis. Most of our our activities and so are open to NGOs across Barbados and Eastern Caribbean in this instance. And it's competitive in that we have an evaluation committee that evaluates for your acceptance into the program. So please keep track of our social media, stay tuned to our website, and all that information will be made available to you.
Thank you so much for that contribution. Any other questions? Yes, Carrie Ann?
Good morning. If you have already submitted an application to the email address, is it the CDB submission email address? Do you expect to get a response at the receipt of the email or only when the project has been reviewed and responses are being given out?
This is CPDC, not CDB. And yes, when you submit an application, you should get a response with a reference number.
Because I did submit a project proposal and I did not get a response to that email.
Thank you for raising that. At this time, we will follow up with you offline.
I did not hear what you said, sorry?
I said we will follow up with you offline. So if you could send me a message in the chat with your email address and we'll follow up with you. Will we be getting a copy of the presentations? The video and this launch will also be on YouTube. And it will be shared on our social medias. Yes, Catherine, you said your mic has an issue. When we have calls for scholarships or for grants, it is advertised on social media and the applications are advertised with an email address. You could check out our new website and it has the opportunities where you could see the various. We would not be sending the applications directly to you. You will have to follow our social media and our website to see the opportunities that you wish to apply for. At this time, I'm going to hand over to Denise Tannis to give us our votes of thanks. Denise, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was there reading along, didn't realize. Apologies. In closing, CPDC would like to take this opportunity to thank the delegation of the European Union to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean states, the OECS, and CARICOM, CARIFORUM for once again partnering with the CPDC on this project, which seeks to strengthen the capacity of civil society to contribute to sustainable regional development practices. A special thank you to Mr. Luke Patzel, Program Manager, for his remarks and his dedication to this process. To the board of CPDC and the chair, Ms. Koza Fraser. Koza, we thank you for your thought-provoking comments, and we thank the board for its dedicated contribution to CPDC. To Richard Jones, our officer in charge, for his guidance and leadership at CPDC and ensuring that this project has come to fruition. To Karen, our project specialist at CPDC, for her presentation and high levels of dedication, which we can attest to. To the CPDC team, who all contributed inputs to the process. To the press, who are ensuring that the importance of this regional project is highlighted. And to all stakeholders, to all of you who have tuned in today, thank you for supporting us and contributing to regional sustainable development. Have a good afternoon, and we look forward to partnering with you on this project. Thank you very much. Hand over to you, Karen.
Thank you so much, everyone. And it was an honor to share this morning with you, and I hope you have a wonderful day this evening today. Bye.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Okay, bye, thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Okay,
Have a
thank
good
you
day.
for having us.
Bye.
Miss
Yeah.
Roselle, can you call me, please?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.